Hitmonkey is a Hulu original animated show, and I think it deserves a lot more attention than it's currently getting, so I'm going to talk about it. The main story follows a Japanese monkey and his ghost friend assassin Bryce as they hunt down the people who killed Bryce as well as Monkey's family. It's kind of a silly concept on paper, and I know it could throw a lot of people off, but trust me, the show takes itself surprisingly seriously and has a ton of interesting characters to boot, with Monkey and Bryce being my favourite characters throughout the show. Something that surprised me though is that Bryce was actually likeable. In the trailers, they kind of portray him to be this asshole's character who doesn't really care about the situation at hand and just makes a lot of jokes. But they actually work that into his character and they portray him as much more of a tragic figure. And I really enjoy it when they take comedic characters and turn them into, these more serious characters, even if it is for a character moment or a character beat. An example of this being is that moment in Spider-Verse where they have all the characters explaining their kind of tragic backstories that they had with losing loved ones and other things like that. And you kind of expect Spider-Ham to be the one to make the joke to alleviate the situation and make it a bit lighter. But he actually states the most important line out of all of them, saying that you can't save everyone, Miles. And to me, that is a really big character moment both for Spider-Ham and also informs Miles' character in the future. I really appreciate it when they take a comedic character and they give them a serious character moment, because it just shows that they're more than that one-note comedy beat that they always need to have in both, animated movies and TV shows. Anyway, I started to really enjoy Bryce and Monkey's dynamic. It has a similar vibe to, Rocket and Groot in the Guardians movies, though the roles are kind of reversed in this situation. Something the show also does well is developing their side characters to be more than what we assume them to be. Unlike other adult comedy animated series, where they have the character have a one-note joke, they actually have the characters be more than what they are, and it's something that I really appreciate because it makes these characters feel more real and more human. And honestly, another thing they do really well is actually have the characters not be good people all the time. They actually have them make human decisions and human mistakes, and I feel like we don't really get to see that in a lot of adult animated shows anymore. Now, I don't think Hitmonkey does this super well. I think in fact does it better, but I don't want to discredit it because it's kind of important to have animated shows like this for adults so we can actually get more diverse content out there. And though not perfect, I think Hitmonkey is a good step in the right direction. Now, the animation style is a little bit off, but I'm pretty sure it was done by the same studio that did Archer, and you can clearly see that within the character designs as well as the way they are animated. Not to discredit the animators though, I believe that they were working on a very small budget, and you can kind of see that within the way the characters are a bit more stilted than usual. My theory is that they were saving their money for the bigger and more dynamic scenes, like fight scenes, to make them look better and make them feel more visceral and more bloody, and it looks really good when Monkey starts jumping around and killing people. It's just a lot of fun to watch, and I can really appreciate that the animators did actually care and want to put a lot of effort into this show. The animation may be lacking in some areas, but I don't think that diminishes the show in the slightest. Honestly, when you have a good writing team, it can enhance a show a lot, and I think this show has some stellar character work and writing. If you didn't notice the massive logo plastered on top of Hitmonkey, yeah, this is a Marvel property, so we do get a lot of little Marvel references throughout the show. They aren't super in your face about the references though, like most of the MCU projects. They do it in a subtle enough way that you don't need to understand the reference, and it doesn't take away from the show itself. And honestly, Hitmonkey is kind of its own side project in a way where you don't need to have MCU knowledge in order to understand Hitmonkey in itself, or even comics knowledge for that matter. But it does help enhance the story a little bit once you do understand the references. I mean, there's a couple obvious ones where I think they do have a Stark Industries logo in the background of one of the shots, as well as just having a whole scene where they talk about Kingpin getting his suit tailored in one specific suit tailoring store, which is a bit weird, but is also kind of funny in a way. They also use lesser known Marvel characters from, the Marvel universe, and even though I didn't understand the references myself, I think a lot of long-time comics lore fans would really appreciate it. From what I was able to dig up, I found out that they were actually, Daredevil or Iron Fist villains. So it's kind of nice to be seeing, the deeper lore of these two characters that I know fairly well at this point. These characters do serve more of a purpose to give Hitmonkey, you know, more interesting foes instead of having to fight like, you know, 20 powerless goons, though that is quite entertaining. I know I said earlier in the review that this show does take itself surprisingly seriously. The show is also, at the end of the day, a comedy show, so the comedy does have to hit. And like I've said before, I think a lot of the comedy does hit for me, especially when Bryce makes little snarky comments towards Monkey when he's not doing something correctly. I think one of my favourite moments being is when Monkey is being dropped off at one of his last hits and he is trying to take off his seatbelt and all the characters are trying to teach him how to take off a seatbelt. It's just really enjoyable to watch all the characters kind of interact in such a random way. Overall, I think Hitmonkey is worth your time. So if you have some time on your hands and you're able to sit down and watch 10 30-minute episodes, I think you should give it a shot. There's comedy, there's drama, and there's also some great writing and animation throughout, so you definitely won't be disappointed watching this show. Obviously, if you're in America, you can watch it on Hulu, but if you're like me and in the UK, it's actually on Disney+, so you can watch it there instead. Or you can use a VPN or something, but we're not sponsored right now, so do what you want, I don't care. They did hint at a second season for Hitmonkey, so I do hope that a lot of people pick up the show and give it a shot, because I would actually like to see how the story develops from where they left off. But to give you all a slight spoiler, I think we're going to be heading into the deeper Marvel universe and we're going to be seeing a lot more characters from that. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed, you know, watching the video. If you did, why don't you hit the subscribe button or whatever, or, you know, hit a like button, or, you know, share this with your friends. You know, I want people to watch Hitmonkey, so why don't you share it around, give your friends to give this a watch, and then go watch Hitmonkey, because it's a pretty good show. And we're also a pretty good channel. And you should subscribe to the SleekGeekz Variety channel. That's what I'm calling it. I'm changing the name on Cammy and Jack. This is now an executive decision done by me. Anyway, thanks guys. Hope to see you all later. Bye.